Hello, everyone. This is yet another podcast episode, and today I'm having a new guest, another friend of mine, AxelSanGo. He's a popular Neo 2 streamer, in case you do not know, and also he's a part of our Neo community. Welcome on in, Axel. How are you doing today?
Hi, what is up, Shilot, and everyone else watching? I'm Axel, and yeah, you might know me from doing speedruns and some challenge runs, especially on Neo 2. But yeah, I've been there since like the pre-alpha of Neo 1. So yeah,
Wow, yeah, that's actually quite a long time, I would say, because Neo 1 was released in 2017, I believe, or 16.
yeah,
16, right?
Neo 1 was 17,
Yeah.
and the pre-alpha was on. I'm pretty sure it was on 16.
Yeah, but I heard pre-alpha was actually quite horrific, and there was a
Yeah,
breaking equipment and all of that. I was like, oh my god, no, Dark Souls.
yeah, the two main things that were pretty bad about it is like the durability, and
Yeah.
then the other one was like if you didn't have enough key to, for example, do like an attack or dodge,
Uh huh.
like you didn't need to get hit out of it. Like you would just straight up like by attempting, you would
Uh huh.
get out of breath.
Oh, wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it was
like.
terrible.
I remember Kage told me about these things, and I was like, oh my god. Even Spawn also mentioned that. But I was lucky that I started playing Neo when it was released for PC as a complete edition. And I guess all these bugs and all these things were sorted out, and actually the game final product of that game was actually quite good. So
Yeah, Neo
since
improved
Mhm,
a lot since like from the pre-alpha to the beta. It was a
mhm.
huge step up.
Yeah, I mean, and actually, I'm actually glad to hear and see that actually they choose their own way and made the game, the way that it is today. Because I would say, like I'm keep saying, that's the only game that still keeps me playing it every week. Like I play it every week at least once, like a couple of hours, not that much, but again, it's always fun to get back into combat because it's so engaging, so fun, and yeah, it's one of the. I mean, I would really like to see, of course, Neo 3 and all that, but yeah, that's yet about to be seen in future when they announce something. So tell me first, you played also Neo 1 and of course Neo 2. Tell me. What are your thoughts, like in comparison, Neo 1 to Neo 2? What do you like? What do you don't like about the game and changes they did in Neo 2?
Okay, so as you know, since I mainly do speedruns and challenge runs, like I like to start from the start,
Mm-hmm.
from the get-go. And if you look at it from the perspective of what you can do, like
Mm-hmm.
with what the game offers you in total and what you can do in a run like that,
Mm-hmm.
you would say you get more from Neo 1. But at the same time, I like the fact that on Neo 2 you have like a character creator, which like if you like William, I don't mind him too much, honestly, personally. But I much prefer to have like my own character.
Yeah, that's a
So
huge improvement.
that's a big plus for me to play Neo 2. But then at the same time, on Neo 1, it is much easier to get new skills because you keep getting like by leveling up, by
Mm-hmm.
the proficiency. Like every weapon shares the same skill points,
Mm-hmm.
so you don't have to go to another weapon from scratch and then start using it in order to get those skill points. You can start by using one weapon, and then whenever you want to start using another one, you can slot in the skills before you even start playing with that. So that's really good for Neo 1. That's a
Mm-hmm.
bit the main thing that I miss from Neo 1. I think when I do these runs, because it just lacks this flexibility. You always start pretty slow when it comes to the movesets.
Mm-hmm. Oh, fair enough. That's actually fair enough. I do actually understand, and yeah, you're right. There are these differences between Neo 1 and Neo 2, but again, we all have witnessed huge differences. Such, for example, for me, which was the uh, parry disabled, because in Neo 1 we had PvP, and Neo 2 that was completely removed, and parry disabled, like playing with certain weapons that actually starting with quick attack instead of let's say L1 plus quick was really difficult to play with, because enemy would just block and you just get deflect, and that was actually for me personally a huge change. And actually I would say I like it because it forced me to find another way and change my play style and adjust to this new particular way of playing, so to say. And actually, yeah, there are actually nice up and downs. I know there is a lot of also things that are bugged, I would say. Glitched, leftover, never
Yeah.
fixed, nobody knows why. One of them is elemental damage reduction. Again, that's when you speed run, probably doesn't affect you
Yeah.
that much, but in an end game that affects you. Like basically you block and then you get the element. I was like, wow, why? And also you remember that. I'm pretty sure that you remember. Pardon me. Ryman Sakuna, when Neo 2 was dropped, he was weak. Fire side was weak on water, water side was weak on fire. And we've been having these crystals around so we can get the buffs and fighting him. Suddenly, after one or two patches, he became immune to fire and earth, fire and water, and then he suddenly become weak on lightning. Did that affect your speed run?
That's funny you say that because the main issue that I have with the crystals on Ryomin Sukuna fight is that they override whatever buff I am in, and in the speedrun you would basically only use purity and lightning because you would not debuff with fire or water even on pre-patch. So
Huh.
since you don't debuff, you don't care about like the extra damage because what the main damage that you're getting on in terms of like debuffing and all that stuff is just confusion.
Mm-hmm.
So it is much better to have like a purity and lightning confusion applied to him, and then just start doing way more damage
Uh-huh.
with that. And also like you get rid of his key, and while he has the confusion, like cannot
Yeah,
recover,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I know that. So actually, that made things easier for you. For me, that was actually that's a small thing that I noticed, and it was actually it was okay. But still, when you go in a yokai book and then when you look to for the weaknesses of the boss, it says one side is fire is weak on water and water is weak on fire. And I was like, yeah, sure, man. Then you go to the boss and he's up total opposite. But yeah,
Yeah. It was
uh,
also like
mhm.
if you played, I don't know if you played the beta, I think it was, or the
Neo
last
2.
demo before the last chance trial.
Yeah, I did
Um,
beta in last time trial. Yeah.
if you remember, Ryomi Sukuna had more burst attacks, and
Yes.
therefore it was way easier to fight Ryomi Sukuna if you use those burst counters.
Yeah,
Like,
overall, Neo 2 it actually feels much easier, and all the enemies that used to be, so to say, very strong, and then you get scared when you fight them, such as Magatsu, for example, or Kusayoki. Here they become way easier because oh, burst, let me burst this, and I'm good, I'm good. But no, in Neo 1, no, you cannot burst that shit.
yeah,
You are actually doomed.
yeah. Even without burst counter, you have like just a lot more options. Not only more movesets and like purity, which is basically a joker for everyone. Like
Yeah,
almost everything is weak to purity or
yeah,
corruption.
yeah.
Um,
That's true.
you also have the yokai abilities, which are like a huge, powerful tool that you have.
Yeah,
Like in the speedruns, like
that helps a lot.
one
Yeah,
of
that
the
helps a
like
lot.
the two biggest weapons that you have are not your actual weapon, pretty much. Like you can make anything work as long as you have Kasha and Yatsunokami, basically.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Actually, you told me, and I never use Yasuno Kami that much, but I actually have seen in new speedruns. Holy moly, that's the soul core that destroys. He goes 3 times or four, I'm not even sure, but he
Yeah,
annihilated every single boss key in no fucking time. I was like, oh my, this is OP.
and and this is post nerfs because in patch one
Uh
it bounced more and it was cheaper with the anima.
That's actually ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
Kasha is also OP. One thing that I realized because I do play a lot of with level 1 and low level weapons, soul cores, elemental applied, or so to say, let's say the build up of the element with soul cores is dependent on damage. And that's a thing that I don't understand even today, and I even spoke with BSG and many others, but no one knows. Only Onibis are not affected by damage in the terms of like element when I'm building up the elements. But every other soul core, if I put level 1 weapon and let's say I use for example Suiki, I will not apply water. But if I have a level 100 plus 120 weapon, I will apply Suiki debuff easily, like that water debuff. Reason
Yeah,
unknown.
for whatever reason they decide to make your attack rating on the equipped weapon that you have, or in whatever state you are, how much attack you have, to change how the soul cores behave. Like instead of like just taking it from the level of the soul core, it's kind of
Exactly,
weird.
exactly, exactly. So another thing, since you've been doing a lot of speed runs and all that, was there any other? Because I really, even though I know you this long, I really do not know. Is there anybody else who actually was, so to say, a good competitor for you that actually you had to fight with him to set up a better timing?
Oh,
So someone who made things challenging for you, or there was not no
okay,
one at
so
all.
here's the thing.
Hmm.
Like the way I approach the speed runs is I like to do things my own way, and I
Hmm.
like to route myself and everything.
Hmm.
And of course, like there were other runners, like Shade. I think ran at some point. There were multiple other runners. Like let me go to speedrun.com real quick where I
Hmm.
talk.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the main thing is that while there is other competition, and I do take some strats from them and whatnot. Like for example, here in the old days on the PS4, like you have Sam, which is an Italian runner,
Hmm.
Maruyo-san, a Japanese runner, Shade, also Italian runner. Um, and then on PS5, you have like Fetus, for example, didn't really do new game runs. He did like a new game plus runs on
Hmm.
Nioh 2. Um, but yeah, like we have several runners. Gala also ran it at some point.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's mainly Shay, I would say, is the one that kind of pushed further the game when it comes to new game on PC. And yeah, like for example, like the using the Maeda clan was an idea from Shade mainly.
Okay. Hmm.
Like if you know, like there's now it's like further divided in more categories because of glitches and whatnot. But in the early days, the main division of the speedruns, besides 20% and with DLCs,
Hmm.
was glitch. No, no. Basically unrestricted and glitchless, right? Like
Yeah, okay. Without any glitch that actually would
no, no,
affect
no.
game,
Sorry,
yeah.
sorry, sorry. Now it's like unrestricted and glitchless, and then further on is like just regular or featherless.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the feathers, as you know, like the ninjutsu are like super powerful.
Yeah.
And let me put you in perspective. Like for example, the record that Sam had in the runs with feathers in PS4 was 1:19:57 seconds. Um, and then if you go to my record back then, which obviously it wasn't as optimized as it is right now because
Mm-hmm.
it was with all strats. It was 1:32, so it was like around 10 minutes of difference, if you would say. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look into the PC runs, for example, like you have Shade with 1:18:37 on PC. Obviously, I don't have a PC run, but on PS5 I have a 1:16:17. So
Mm-hmm.
it ended up being like much closer.
Mm-hmm.
The featherless runs to the regular runs,
Mm-hmm.
just because of this Maeda clan and using more the Yokai Shift,
Mm-hmm.
which brings me to the topic of like the Yokai Shift. I know there's a lot of people who were sad because Living Weapon was gone,
Yeah,
and they
remote.
felt like
Mm-hmm.
Yokai Shift was way weaker. And I feel like while it is true that Living Weapon is more powerful overall, I think Yokai Shift just gives you a more technical side, a more like uh, you have to play around the tools way more in order to keep it up and
Yeah,
make the
that's
most
true.
out of it.
I mean, for example, you can parry bosses with Brute that you couldn't do with Living Weapon in Neo 1, which is also a huge thing.
Yeah.
And you can also use your okay, you could do that even in Neo 1, but using your basically you can set up your Guardian Spirit skill and then actually Parry Boss, or actually, there is a lot of way that, I mean, we all would like that Yokai Shift was something, I mean, slightly better because more skills, more
Yeah.
variety. But I think that is going to be changing if they ever make Nioh 3. That's probably going to be changed because they had to get rid of the living weapon. Let's be honest, but living weapon was broken in Nioh 1. I mean, it looks good. I like it. Perhaps what they could do in Nioh 2, they could actually let you choose. Like, if you remember in a Wulong, you remember in a Wulong that you can actually use the guardian spirit, or that, so to, however you want to call that spirit, as the imbue on your weapon, or perhaps you can use it another way. So basically, I think it
Yeah.
was the uh, if you press circle and triangle, or X and square, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes.
So that's a nice thing. For example, in a Wulong, that actually would be nice to be implemented in Nioh. So there is a space, I believe, for that. So that was a nice thing.
Yeah, that would be pretty nice. Like, yeah, I have my reasons that I would not get into detail with this for
Hmm.
not really running Wolong much
Yeah.
because that game had some issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Square X was like for like imbuing your weapon with the spirit, and
Yeah.
then
Exactly.
you would summon the spirit or the beast with a triangle circle.
Yeah.
Uh, One thing that I would like to see is just like a more expanded moveset and options and skills for the yokai shift. Like,
Hmm.
not necessarily stances, even though it would be cool to have stances. But I feel
Hmm.
like uh, if you look at each yokai shift as a stance, like you would see high stance being brute, mid stance being phantom, and then low stance being feral, right?
Yeah.
Um, so that kind of already gets into that role of stances. But
Hmm.
if you on top of that add more skills, like beyond just the regular attack, strong attack, hold, strong attack,
Yeah.
and
Skills
then the
overall. Yeah. That.
particular skill, like for example the parry of the
Hmm.
the fang break
Hmm. Hmm.
of the brute. If you get more into that, like if you like start making maybe like mixing up between like a regular attack and a strong attack, just to do some extra skill, sorry. That would be like just an extra layer that would make it more interesting, right? Like, so if they make something like that, that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I do agree. Definitely, you're right. So tell me, have you ever tried the run with feathers when you've been speedrunning?
Well, yes. The thing is, I haven't done like because I'm very stubborn and I refuse to do some things that I just don't find appealing.
I mean, that's okay.
So I
That's
did.
normal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I did use the feathers in
Hmm.
runs just to testing stuff, but that was
Hmm.
mainly just like, what if we make it like a hybrid where I use the feathers, but I also at the same time uh, use the some of the strats of the
Hmm.
other
Hmm.
route. The thing is, like, it ended up being like such a finicky strat or accumulation of strats and whatnot
Hmm.
that it's like it it mostly kind of works, but at the same time it really doesn't. So
That makes
so
sense,
yeah, it
huh?
was just like a failed experiment of like making a hybrid. So yeah,
Okay, yeah.
I like
So,
doing weird things like that.
for example, what I find super interesting for me, it's actually I know how to cancel feathers with the key pulse, but
Yeah,
sometimes that's like I don't find it that fun or entertaining. So what I do instead, basically, I'm just giving an example. I use fire feather, and then I pop up the shoot and doji fire, and then shoot and doji shoot fire, and then suddenly the fire gets out of the ground, and or perhaps I actually use the fire feather and then slap with brute, and then people ask me, how did you do that with brute? No, I haven't done that with brute.
okay, yeah, yeah,
So I
that's
just
actually a really cool idea. You just make
so
things like
yeah,
cooler by
yeah,
adding feathers to
yeah,
them.
yeah, exactly. So I had feathers, and I just used some soul core which matched that element, so people think actually that I that actually that effect came out of the
Yeah,
that
like if it
particular
was
soul
an
core.
autocomplete
Yeah,
or something.
yeah, yeah. So perhaps there was also the thing with the, if you remember, there is a talisman that makes you repel the bullets or any type of projectiles, and then I pick up the axe and I use lumber chop, and then as soon as the projectile approach me, I hit that with lumber chop, and then deflect it back to. And the people say, "How did you do that?" Like I'm playing baseball. It's just tricks and things that looks just make games looks
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
But yeah, that's a thing
But
that I like to do.
but
Aside of that, go ahead.
yeah, speaking about when we were talking about cancels and whatnot, I kind of
Mm-hmm.
forgot to talk about some other differences besides like like the expanded movesets and mechanics. In Neo One, I don't know if you ever saw like a Neo One speedrun.
Oh yes, I did.
Uh,
Mhm.
okay, so you know about the AI cancels and the AI loop, right?
Oh yeah, of course. That was
So in
people
Neo
like to
One,
do
you
that.
have like the EI loop.
Mm-hmm.
There were two main strats on the whole run of Neo One is applying like a corruption, like confusion, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
as fast as you can, so it gets
Mm-hmm.
rid of all the key, and then you just delete the boss, which
Of
is
course.
if it's
Yeah.
a yokai,
Punching bag. Yeah.
and if it's a human, you
Mm-hmm.
just shoot him in the head, and then
Yeah,
start
them
doing
till
the
they
AI
die.
loop.
Yeah,
Those are the
yeah.
two strats.
Yeah, but
So
there was some specific range that you actually had to be behind the target to hit them in order so they get up and then fell down or stay on the ground.
yes, yeah, because every human, or maybe not every human, but most of the different human bosses that we fight have like a different timing for when they're getting up.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for example, Maria and well, especially Maria, but a little bit also Saika
Mm-hmm.
wake up or get up way faster than others, like
I noticed that. Yeah, you're right.
Nobunaga, or especially like
Sanada, Masamune, and in
Shima
Tachibana.
Sakon.
Shima-sakon, okay? Yeah,
Shima Sakon
Shima-sakon.
wakes up very late, like it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty slow.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have like different timings, and depending on like if you have like for example, if you're doing dual sword strats with
Mm-hmm.
AIs,
Mm-hmm.
if you have like the level 1 or level 2 skill, you would have to maybe be faster with what you're doing, or maybe it would be like almost impossible to do if you don't have the improved one. But if
Mm-hmm.
you do have the improved one, then you have to kind of slow down a little bit in order to get on the loop, because otherwise you're doing it too late, too early, and then you just
Mm-hmm.
wake them up completely.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. That
yeah,
makes sense.
it's finicky in its own way, but it's always like the same two things, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
either just delete them with naming weapon or confusion or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you just do the AI loops. Whereas in Neo 2, there's pretty much no such thing as a consistent fight.
Yeah.
uh, right now I cannot recall any fight that is actually consistent in Neo 2, but you also have to like the approach that you take on each fight always has some different nuance to it, and it has a lot more variety to it and a lot more improvisation onto the
Mm-hmm.
run. That's another reason why I like doing Neo 2 runs way more, because in Neo 1 is just kind of like just do the same thing all the time, and if it something goes wrong, then you're fucked, right? Um,
Yeah. Pretty much.
yeah, so it's not as fun. It was fun while Neo 2 was not around, but when Neo 2 came out, then yeah,
Yeah,
it was.
so uh another question is what are your thoughts about Neo 1 to Neo 2 bosses comparison, let's say yokai to yokais and human to human?
Okay, I think the main two reasons are, one is that in Neo 2 you have a way more interactive way of doing fights with both regular enemies and bosses. You can interact with the bosses way more, with the burst counter, uh, with the different like yokai abilities. You have more skills in general, right? But also at the same time, if you look at them from like, if you were to play like both of them with Neo 2 moveset or Neo 1 moveset, you'd also see that design wise, their moveset is way more interesting in Neo 2.
Yeah,
Neo
that's
1
for
is
sure.
is way more bare bones in comparison.
Mm-hmm. True, true. And I think, I mean, I find the human bosses more interesting in Neo 1. I mean, interesting. When I say interesting, not in terms of mechanic and how AI works, but it more in terms like how they are built. Sanada is another great boss, for example. When you get to the yokais, Neo 2 is much better because as
Yeah.
you mentioned earlier, in Neo 1 you knock them out of ki and they become in punching bags. They have no ki and then you can keep up punching them till they die, and that's pretty much the end of the fight. Like especially if you know how to manage your ki, you are more than good. And then like in Neo 2, oops, that doesn't work that much or the same way, which I like. The thing that I don't like that much in Neo 2, for example, I don't know how does that affect in speedruns, was the perfect key pulse in Neo 1 used to remove Yokai pull. In Neo 2, any sort of key pulse used to remove it. And then certain builds
Well,
and graces were pointless.
yeah, it's not exactly that. It's not like any sort of keeples. It's just they relax the condition way more, so it's you don't have to be like as close to the perfect keeples.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can be quite far off and it still works, but um, yeah, like it's just they decided to maybe like speed things up a little bit, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when it comes to human bosses in Neo 2, uh, I can only think of one particular boss. There's others as well, but the main criminal here is Kintoki.
Oh yeah, I mean Kintoki is just like the Perry God. Like the dude. I mean, I have a way to fight him usually, and you gotta pick up the weapon that you want to fight it because he is obnoxious. Like if I'm playing with Tonfa, he can only parry normal, actually quick and strong attacks, which I never do because I know like with Tonfa, I always have that like opener that I'm getting with a tiger bite. Then I go into the what was the name of it? Urgency, and then I can just loop him with Tiger Bite Urgency till he fucking die. He can parry till tomorrow. He will not parry me because he cannot parry skills. But if you for example want to fight that same boss with Switchglaive, he is going to parry every single skill you do because game actually register every single input from Switchglaive as a quick or strong attack, and that's certain weapons are really unbearable to play against that guy. He's just
Yeah,
like his input reading like it's just crazy. Like parry, boom, and then he parry, he kill you pretty much. Like
I think he's when you do like the dojos for each
mhm,
weapon, like
yeah,
if you go to the axe
hmm,
or the hatchets,
hmm.
he's one of the most fucking unbearable guys to go
Oh,
against.
of course. The
He's
dojo in Neo 2 in general are actually quite bad, I would say. I have to say that unfortunately it is that way.
Yeah, like even with the sword and Odachi, for example, they're kind of obnoxious as well, but not on the same level. Like
Yeah, Kintoki is just
Kintoki is
broken. I'm keep saying that, and they never fix it. I remember once that I actually spent, I don't know how many hours I spent, but that was actually quite frustrating because that dude is just ridiculous. Like, yeah, can't do nothing. He's fast as Hayabusa, Kirikari with the Hayabusa, and he's wearing agility. He's agility C or D and wearing heavy armor. Like, sure, game that works. Like, can I do that? No, you can't. I mean, that's just cheating. Like, classic.
yeah, super cheating. It's like they kind of had this in Neo One a little bit as well, especially on the later cycles, like Dream of the Wise and Neo,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
with what's it called, Tachibana.
Yeah, yeah, you're right, but not that much again as Kinto Kineo too. There was, but not that much. Like, but yeah, you're right, you're right. And another thing or another question that I would like to know is, of course, you would like to see Neo 3. What are your thoughts on all this thing that is going on lately? I mean, you could see actually Team Ninja is being quite silent. They released Rise of the Ronin that I don't think so even try to speed run because I don't think so you can even do anything in that game, or I don't even know. Does anybody even speed run that game? Like that's a good
Yes,
question.
there's actual people who speedrun
Oh,
that
really?
game, and they're in the in
Cutscenes
the
or
in
what?
the same Discord.
Uh-huh.
They have been silent lately. Let
Uh-huh.
me let me check. Let me check real quick. What is the latest thing that they have said? Like the latest message was on June. It seems.
Yeah,
Oh no,
probably.
on August. Sorry, on August.
Okay, what did they
August
say?
was the last one.
What did they say on August? I mean, the patches for the Ronin, there was no patches, only like some adjustments for a PlayStation 5 Pro enchanted graphics, and they like to me seems they like gave up on Ronin, and move on to something else. I don't even know what. I
Yeah,
don't know what is going on.
in general, like I would definitely like them to see, like to see like a Neo 3 or something along the lines of something like a Neo, because let's just start with Wolong.
Hmm.
Uh, from Wolong to Rise of the Ronin, they feel like they have gone to this, not just them but also the industry in general of the action games. It feels like it has been skewed towards just deflect everything, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, parry deflection system. Yeah, that was you right. So from the Wulong up to the Ronin, everything was based on parry deflect sort of thing. Like,
Yeah, like I don't mind having deflect mechanics. Like in some games actually do it really well. Like Thymesia always pops to my head when I say that.
hmm
Um, but it's always subjective on how it is implemented. Like, do you have to deflect? Do you have to parry like every single attack if you want to play the game in any decent way?
hmm
If the answer is yes, that to me is obnoxious. Like
yeah,
for it to be an option and a
that's
good
a good.
option, like maybe
Yeah,
even
that
the most optimal thing that you have to do,
I agree. Yeah,
then that's good. But
yeah.
if in order to play the game like in any decent way, you literally have to like deflect every
It
single
ruined, it
thing.
ruined the fun. It ruined the fun of the game
Yeah,
and everything. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely right. Like that's a thing. I think that it was kind of similar in Neo 2 that everything was around burst counter before they released it. In the last trial, you had actually to burst counter. You did not have a choice to dodge it, and that was annoying to me. But they changed it in a final product on the release. They give you option. You can dodge. You can burst counter. You can do whatever you want. They just give you freedom. It's optional. You don't need to. You don't need
yeah,
to if you don't want. Absolutely, it's up to you, which is good
yeah,
in my
exactly.
opinion.
Like optimizations aside, like I think that the biggest thing that you have to do when it comes to like an action game, like if you're a developer or something like that, and you're releasing like an action game,
Hmm
if the player doesn't have like this feeling of freedom that they can do things however they want, even if it's a bit harder or a bit easier or whatever, like the moment that it feel like there's only one path, one right
hmm
path to take, it's
hmm
just frustrating.
Yeah,
It's just very frustrating for any player who likes to do action games, because usually when you like action games, you like to do fancy stuff, right? Like you want to do things your
yeah,
own way,
yeah.
and if they take away your freedom of doing that, it's just
Absolutely.
stabbing you in the back.
That's most important thing. That's most important thing for me, at least, that I have all freedom in the combat, so I can enjoy the game. Axel, we are on 32 minutes. Actually, we are getting to the end of this podcast, but actually, it was quite fun. Nevertheless, I was enjoying, and I actually am glad that I could hear and learn more about how the speedruns actually was working and how that actually functioned from Neo 1 to Neo 2 for you, because I know that was your main thing. And of course, I would like to see you in one of the incoming podcasts regarding to any other games from the Team Ninja that you have played. But yeah, I
Yeah.
would like to thank you very much for taking your time and joining me here. And I hope so that viewers and or the listeners will like this podcast. Thank you once again.
Thank you for having me. If you ever want to speedrun the game, you just hit me up and
Yeah, you just hit
I'll give you
Axel if you
the
want to
role play.
speedrun. Yeah, sure. Okay, man. Thank you.
Like
And
or
yeah.
anyone watching, like if they want to learn how to speedrun, like just hit
Yeah,
me up because like
this is the right guy. If you guys looking to learn to speedrun or you have a questions, this is the guy that you should ask. And his Twitch channel, YouTube channel will be in my description of this podcast.